Hello and welcome. My name is Richard. It's a great pleasure of mine to welcome you into this space. Here on this freezing, cold Australian morning, as we approach the winter solstice here in the Southern Hemisphere. I've been feeling called to create another video, having prepared one for the equinox back in March. And following on from that, to provide some further footprints on the path as support and guidance through these times on planet Earth. Guidance for those who consider themselves to be light workers here. And by a light worker I mean someone who is aligning with love over fear, seeking to enter into a higher dimensional frequency, move into a place of becoming, coming home to the heart. And I feel just to put another video out there today that speaks to the journey of that, which is part of my work and my service to humanity, to create that record, that testimony of the human journey through this time of great acceleration and change. It is the most precious period in recent human history. And I feel to honor and mark that as sacred. By being with you here today. Now, over the last 3 months, there has been, for me, a lot of joining the pieces. Joining the dots from my lifetime. Key insights have been kind of merging and coalescing and revealing deeper truths for my journey. And I want to start with the core wound. And the core wound is something I talked about a lot in my series that I created last year in 2025, an 8-part teaching series. And I want to preface this talk around the core wound with some important points. Because without that preface, the core wound can be a heavy, drowning experience to dive into. The first preface is that the core wound that we inherited early in our childhoods is not something that we are a victim of. It is something we chose to carry in this life. And we chose to carry it because the wound is not a burden. In truth, deep in the wound is the greatest gift that is at the cornerstone of our legacy. And our journey is to unwrap that wound and to bring forth that gift. There's a beautiful quote by Rumi that I wrote a blog around many years ago. And he says that we come on this planet with one specific task. And we often spend our lives doing 99 other tasks. Tasks that entertain us, seduce us, distract us. And so we waste our life. And I'm saying that the one specific task is this: to embrace the core wound, unwrap it, and bring forth the gift. This is our uniqueness as souls who enter the field of separation from the greater whole and become individualized. And this is why we do it, because that creates the wound, and then we create the gift. And in that gift, the whole becomes greater. It expands. So one must have that perspective to embrace this topic. Another thing is that when talking about the wound, we have to embrace it within a wider field of gratitude and grace, graciousness, and humility. There can be no negativity in my field. I have to approach it from an elevated space, from a broader understanding of the blessings in my life, the glory of this day, this beautiful day, the life that has been given. And so from that space we can then begin to touch the depths, to dive deep. Now the core wound has kind of come to the surface for me again from watching a beautiful video a couple of weeks ago from an astrologer called Pam Gregory, who talked about the planet Chiron, the celestial body. And in myth and modern understanding, that is a celestial body we can look towards for understanding around our core wounds and the healing of that. Now the celestial body Chiron is moving out of Aries and into Taurus, beginning that journey for the next 7 years or so. And it struck me because when I was born, Chiron was in Taurus. So this marks my Chiron return as it re-enters that point in the sky. And the Chiron return is an opportunity to address and resolve, complete the journey through the wound, which is a great invitation. And according to what Pam said, each star sign carries a core message for each core wound. And when the star sign is in Taurus, the core wound relates to feeling unsafe, which really struck a chord for me personally. Because feeling unsafe has run like a solid thread through my life. And again, my video series last year talked about that. That experience of being born. And for me, it felt like being born into a foreign land. A land that I did not understand the rules, the language. And when I'm talking of the rules and the language, I'm talking specifically about the matrix here. The structure that has been operating on this planet for some time. It's a structure that never made sense to me. The laws of competition and conflict, and narrow self-interest, and disrespect, and the chasing of profit and gain at the expense of others. The ways of manipulation, disharmony, which kind of operate as a normal state, even though that normal state is beginning to dissolve now. In the presence of the light that is coming through. But it never felt normal to me. From very early on. And there was an unsafe feeling that arose. Growing up in a very comfortable middle class, middle England environment. There's no obvious lack of safety compared to others on this planet. You may be in a place of famine, war, disease, extreme hardship. But it was the inner feeling of unsafety in the midst of the comfort of that life. The sleeping, drifting masses, fueling those in charge, those who created this web around the planet, this astral web. That was draining and disempowering those who just sleeplessly followed through it. I felt unsafe being around that. And the other trigger of unsafety for me was the wound of intergenerational trauma. Which hadn't been healed through my family and through my community. There was a night in 1940 where the city of Coventry experienced the single worst night in the whole Second World War in terms of the amount of bombs that were dropped upon that city. The assault, the attempt to raze that city to the ground by German bombers. And all four of my grandparents were in that city at that time. And so that feeling of unsafety, sitting in that city, in those underground bomb shelters, while your city is being destroyed around you, that just feels very present when I came into this world, that it hadn't been healed within my family and within my community. And when I feel unsafe, I react in different ways. My spirit tries to leave, tries to escape. And then my system goes into a state of trying to cope without the higher executive function of my being present. State of anxiety, state of trying to control my environment to remove the trigger that has created this feeling of unsafety. I try to fix the world around me. And that is okay. To be okay with that coping mechanism, that is a journey in itself. To not judge myself harshly, to be gentle on myself, because it is a fantasy to feel that in the presence of unsafety that I can access my highest, wisest self and flip the script, flip the narrative, flip the energy. That may be an ambition of mine, but it's also a fantasy to feel that that's what I'm expected to perfect and perform. I've spoken before that the deeper truth is that I am to love myself through that experience of feeling unsafe. Now, in recent weeks, I've noticed that my standard response is to choose the quality of courage in the presence of unsafety. There's a part of me, you could say the older child in a way, that came on later in life. It's not my executive function, my highest self, but it's a part of me that came on board and realized that if I embraced courage, if I performed courage, that felt a lot better than sitting on the sidelines of life feeling scared, feeling unsafe. To dive in and embrace life, throw myself in the deep end with this mask of courage wrapped around me. that is the life that I've created the last 20, 30 years probably. Drawing on the spirit of my name, Richard, and the kings of Middle Europe in the Middle Ages. The Lionheart, Coeur de Lion, courage. I will be that person, going into battle with an unsafe world. And not letting it disempower me. Not letting it shut me down. And I created a courageous life. I might have been more comfortable living in a wood like this, in a cabin, writing books, living on the sidelines as a hermit. But I chose to get married. I chose to move to the other side of the world. I chose to have children. Life is very real in that landscape now. 2 young boys who are very strong, very expressive. In my home, there's bombs going off all the time, triggering that intergenerational trauma. And yet, as the courageous performer, I get knocked down, but I get up again, day after day. Throw myself back in to the ring of family life. And the pressures and demands that has placed upon me. And there's great beauty in that. But what I've noticed in recent weeks, probably recent months really, is that there's a limitation. It's like I'm a one-trick pony. And courage now begins to feel suffocating, limiting. And I've discovered that courage doesn't heal the core wound of unsafety. In fact, it makes it a bedfellow for life, a dance partner for life. One moment I feel scared, one moment I feel courageous. There's a toing and froing. The victim and the victor, or the victim and the rescuer. And it's a level of drama that perpetuates. I cannot stay in that courageous frequency all the time. It's a dance, it's a story that I've built through my journey, through my core wound, to this now point of completion. And I'm asking the question, am I now ready to really heal this? Or do I want to continue performing and playing this courageous life? What's beyond that? Which is a very deep question to come to. Having so firmly believed that courage What's the solution? For so long, waving that banner. But there's a tiredness and there's an exhaustion there with courage now. Tired of playing that hand. So where do I go from here? Through my Chiron return. What's beyond courage? There's another video I watched back in February, also through Pam Gregory and a lady called Sarita Sol, a shamanic healer in France. And in that video she pointed at some work created by David Hawkins around the map of consciousness and the different frequencies of different emotional states, shame and guilt, fear, grief. They're kind of very low energy frequencies. Then anger. And then we come to courage. And courage isn't high up the list. But what David's work shows is that courage is the turning point between the three-dimensional world and lower energies and fourth dimensional and fifth dimensional energies, higher energies of love, joy, willingness. So the idea is that you're meant to get to courage, and then you're meant to keep going. Whereas I kind of got to courage and just stayed stuck there. That was the highest point I could reach. I dropped down into the lower densities and then I would pull myself through courage into a higher frequency. And in a way I'm serving my life and my planet by doing that and staying in those lower energies. But what's beyond that? And what I find interesting is that the next one above courage is neutrality. It's not some big force, big power that gets one beyond courage and into joy and love. It's neutrality. But that almost odd observation really makes sense. Because courage is a lot of heat. It's a lot of reactivity. It's a lot of force. But what neutrality does is that it seeks to detach oneself from that reactive force, to make space, to pause. So the idea is that when I feel unsafe, rather than immediately diving into my courageous performance and going again, I hold my seat. I breathe. I relax my nervous system. I step into a forest like this. I be kind to myself, be gentle, be loving, and dissolving those triggers in my system. And out of that neutrality, space opens up. Tension dissolves. And in that space that neutrality creates, then a world beyond courage can emerge. Something new can come in. And I find it challenging to step into that space because it's intangible. What's going to emerge in its place is not clear yet. The new world, the new life. But neutrality is the Chiron return. And the more I embrace neutrality, the more I will be of service here on the planet. The world does not need more of my courage. It needs my neutrality. The calmness of my being. Just breathing into that space. Dissolving tension. And one thing that can be of support, I feel, because it is intangible. We don't know what the new world's going to look like. As I said in my last video, we're kind of wanting to jump from the old to the new as quickly as possible. It's very hard to sit in this unknown state between the two. To let courage dissolve. And I really feel that we need to call in the Ascended Masters now. Their energy and presence can show me the way. Those who have mastered love, forgiveness, compassion, joy. And I've got to connect with their pure energy, not their image that has been filtered and distorted through human hands, to go direct, to sit in their presence and invite those qualities in to this expanded field that's created from neutrality. Planting those super high frequencies. How can I be more loving, more forgiving, more generous, more joyful? And that's a very different life than a courageous life. There's a relaxed approach here, a softening. So the Ascended Master that I'm most connected to at the moment is Mother Mary. And I know that that name has a lot of religious connotations. Put those down. Put those down. Just connect with her pure essence and spirit. And I call it in here now. Because she holds the child in the womb. Through this liminal space. And if I call her in, she can hold me through this restless desire to act, to engage, to wrestle with life. As a courageous performer that I am. And to put that down now. To let that go. In her presence. I am not that anymore. I am that I am. I am living love. A field of grace. A blessing to all those I meet. And as I am that, so are you. So are you, dear one. May we love ourselves through this time. So that we do not create more of the same in the new world that is becoming. Thank you, dear one. Thank you for being here on this journey. Coming home. Here and now. Blessed be.